we are going to discuss oxidative stress and human health. Here in this we can see that oxidative stress is defined as the state in which the level of toxic reactive oxygen intermediates overcomes the endogenous antioxidant defense of the host. Here we have come across in previous slides that many number of the enzymes takes place in the neutralization of this free radical generated, that is the hydrogen peroxide oxygen. Here you can see that it has been neutralized, and also here with the help of the NADPH NOx4 again there can be the formation, and again there will be the neutralization by the help of the glutathione reductase enzyme. So like this there will be many antioxidants which are endogenous within the body, they will be produced. So these are going to be readily active to neutralize the produced free radicals either in the form of any reactive oxygen species or intermediates. But here what will happen, there will be the more amount of the production of the reactive oxygen intermediates or the species, where the free radicals will oxidative free radicals will be produced high in number. The frequency is going to increase within the cell environment. So here what will happen, because of that the oxidative stress is created within the cell or the environment. So here what will happen, because of this the homeostatic or the physiological balance which will be present within the cell and around the tissue of those cell types is going to be get disturbed. So here because of this these free radicals are going to act upon the lipids, cellular lipids, proteins, nucleic acids, leading to changes in their structure and function or local injury and eventual organ dysfunction. So here so many probabilities can happen with different molecular biomolecular structures where they can act upon these many biomolecules. So here because of this there can be the chances of eventual organ dysfunction or the organ failure. So lipids are probably the most susceptible biomolecules to free radical attack, as they are readily available and they are the freely provided surface, either it can be the outer environment of the cell or within the cytosol. The biomembranes are going to be get readily available. Because of that what will happen, the lipids which are present in the biomolecules are biomembranes are going to get readily affected by these free radicals. So oxidative stress is now thought to make a significant contribution to all inflammatory diseases. So here whatever the inflammatory diseases in the sense, here the normal physiological functions is going to take the other way of its activity. Because of that what will happen, there will be the difference in the function of that particular tissue type. So here the inflammation is going to take place. So the inflammatory diseases are going to have different symptoms, like there can be the formation of the tumor, there can be the formation of the pain, there can be many more other form of the unusual medical symptoms which are going to takes place. Now here when you are going to consider the oxidative stress diagram, under this you can come across two types sources, that is endogenous, exogenous. Endogenous we have studied that it can be because of mitochondria, metabolism, lysosome, peroxisomes, inflammasomes, immune system. So these are the endogenous. We also came across exogenous, the radiation, chemicals, pathogens. So here these are the exogenous sources. Further, these can lead to the negative effects and the positive effects. If they are going to lead to the negative effects like DNA, RNA membranes and proteins damages takes place, genetic mutations takes place, chromosomes instability, gene expression modification, So all these are going to happen. If it is a positive effect, there can be killing of pathogen, there can be the metabolism regulation signal, it is going to display. So here, when there is the action of the antioxidant, when there is the action of the antioxidant, then there will be the less reactive molecules. So here this is correspondent with this window. So here this, when there are antioxidants, there will be the less reactive molecules. When there is the absence of the antioxidants, there will be the more reactive molecules, so it can lead to these negative effects. So this is what regarding this particular depiction. Further is, here you can see that the DNA is the normal DNA, where the oxidative molecule is going to act on the DNA, where DNA is going to get damaged. Now again, this transition abnormality is going to get modify the protein. This protein is going to misfolding, is going to form a misfolding of the protein. Because of that, what will happen, the biomolecular structure of the particular component or the biomolecule is going to be different. Because of that, the functionality of that protein is going to be missed. The normal functionality of the protein is going to be missed within the particular cell during its metabolic activity. Now, if this protein is related to any hormone or to any enzyme, definitely it is going to be a big aberration within the physiological function of that cell. Now, when you are going to consider this action of the oxidative species, reactive oxidative species or reactive nitrogen species, will be on the lipid, where peroxidation is going to take place, where the cuticle of the cell is going to be get affected by this ROS or RNS. So here this reaction leads to the damage of the biomembrane. Now you can see, if there is the action of the ROS or RNS on the DNA, then the normal protein takes part in the carbonylation, where it is going to lead to the irregular structure of the protein, where it is going to further lead to the protein aggregation, or it can lead to the proteolysis breakdown. Now here, when the protein has been synthesized, if the protein is going to get affected, the aberrated one, then the proteolytic enzymes are going to act upon it and they are going to break down it. So here, either if it is going to form protein aggregation, that is the unwanted protein, where it is the irregular structure of the protein, that is also going to get into the influence of the proteolytic enzymes, and it is going to take part in the breakdown. So this is what regarding the oxidative stress, how it is going to act upon all the biomolecules which are got affected by the ROS and RNS. Well guys, in this slide we will discuss the oxidative stress and lipids. Here, this is the one of the best known toxic effects of oxygen radicals, which is going to cause damage to cellular membranes, where it can be of plasma membrane, mitochondrial biomembrane, endomembrane systems. It can be nuclear membrane systems also, which is initiated by a process known as lipid peroxidation. Here it is the lipids which is hiding behind this logo. Lipid peroxidation. A common target for peroxidation is unsaturated fatty acids present in membrane phospholipids. So here, from this unsaturated fatty acids, it will be very easy to steal the electron by the free radical. Now here, the reactions involving radicals occur in chain reactions, that a hydrogen is abstracted from the fatty acids by hydroxyl radical, leaving a carbon-centered radical as part of the fatty acid. Now here you can see a diagram. This is the unsaturated fatty acid, Here they have mentioned or noted this particular part where it has been elaborated here, where it is having a hydrogen molecule at the carbon atom. Now this has been abstracted, that has been taken out by the hydroxyl to form the hydroxyl radical, where the carbon has been centered with a valence electron, or the resonance has been created here. Now here this is going to act as the centered carbon centered radical. Now that radical then reacts with oxygen to yield the peroxy radical, which can then react with other fatty acids or proteins. Now, there will be the reaction of this particular carbon centered radical with the oxygen molecule. So here this oxygen molecule is going to get attached with the carbon centered radical, and here it is going to act as the peroxyl radical. Here this peroxyl radical is excited to react with the other lipids, where this radical is going to generate the other free radicals from the stable molecules which are present in the biomolecular structures. Now further, in addition to effects on phospholipids, radicals can also directly attack membrane proteins and induce lipid-lipid reactions, lipid-protein reaction, and protein-protein cross-linking. So, all of which obviously have effects on membrane function. Here, cross-linkings in the sense it can, because of this particular free radical reaction, can lead to the biomembrane destructurization, where the irregular structure can takes place. Because of that, the membrane lipids can have numerous effects, including increased membrane rigidity and decreased activity of membrane bound enzymes. So there will be the difference in the sodium pumps, altered activity of membrane receptors, that is to the signaling of the outer external or induction signals or stimulus signals to the cells to take part in any metabolic activities, or altered permeability. You know that the biomembranes are semi-permeable in their nature, so there will be the alteration in the permeability. So this is the oxidative stress which will be created on the lipids, where it will lead to the difference in the homeostasis within the particular cell membranes, so or the biomembranes of the cell. Let it be the cell membrane, or that is the plasma membrane, or the mitochondrial membrane, or endomembranes, or the nuclear membranes. So this is what the major difference will be seen within this particular oxidative stress on the lipids. Well, coming to the next slide, here we are going to discuss the oxidative stress and proteins. Now here you know that oxidative stress is nothing but if the free radicals are going to be present in excess in number in the environment of the cell, it is going to readily react with any of the biomolecules which are present within the cell environment or to the external of the cell environment. Now here, when you are going to consider the proteins and the oxidative stress of the oxygen or oxygenated radicals, here the proteins are not so readily reactive with these particular free radicals unless they are in the environment of the focused on a particular site of the protein. So here there should be two conditions: that the accumulation of the particular free radical should be high in number, where that particular free radical has to be focused on a particular site of the protein. Then only the oxidative stress is going to be caused on the proteins. One way that the damage is focused is if the protein binds a transition metal ion. So here there is a condition of the attaching of the or binding of the transition metal ion. The most frequently found metal binding sites in proteins are for iron, copper, zinc, and calcium. The transition metals favor protein atoms, nitrogen and sulfur, typically from histidine and cysteine side chains. Now here these are the two which are readily going to get reacted with the transition metal ions, where these transition metal ions will react with the nitrogen and sulfur, where these transition metals are the one which are going to have valence electrons, or the electrons they use to combine with other elements. So here they are going to have a readily reacting valence electron in their orbits, which are present in more than one shell. This is the reason why they often exhibit several common oxidation states. So here these transition metals will react with this nitrogen of the amino acid, or the sulfur molecule of the, or the element of this amino acid. So here these transition ions are going to exhibit the common oxidation state. So here further is protein containing amino acids such as the methionine, cysteine, arginine and histidine seem to be most vulnerable to oxidation. Now here these are the four main amino acids which are vulnerable to the oxidation. Now coming to the next point, methionine, cysteine, homocysteine and taurine. Here when you are going to consider from this point to this point, this last point, we have discussed about the oxidation of the amino acid related with the transition metal ion. Here from here the point is going to change with the sulfur site. So here don't confuse this particular points with this particular points. Here methionine, cysteine, homocysteine and taurine are the four common sulfur containing amino acids, but only the first two are incorporated into proteins. So majorly the methionine and cysteine are used or incorporated in the proteins, as they are going to have the sulfur compound in them. It is going to be get reacted. It is going to be the site of the reaction of the oxidative radicals. Within proteins, many of the methionine residues are buried in the hydrophobic core, but some which are exposed are susceptible to oxidative damage. You know that in proteins, these proteins are very much secured, where they are going to have the hydrophobic core, where this core is going to keep safe the all amino acids, where it is not going to come under the action of any of the water molecules. And here one more thing is that if this methionine or cysteine molecules hydrophobic cores which are hiding or buried in the proteins, if they are get exposed, definitely they are going to come in the contact of the oxidative damage if the oxidative free radicals are present in that surroundings. Because of that, what will happen, these particular hydrophobic cores are going to react with the oxygen, react to oxygen species, and it is going to lead to the damage of those proteins. Now here you can see that methionine is having a sulfur element, and here, and in cysteine here, homocysteine here, taurine here. Free radicals mediated protein modifications increases susceptibility to enzyme proteolysis. Now if this particular, let it be the metal ion action, that is the transition metal action or the metal ion action, or this sulfur containing amino acid, where the action of the oxidative radical takes place. Here if this are going to happen, this is going to make that particular protein vulnerable for being to get susceptible to an enzyme, that is the proteolytic enzyme, which is going to cleave the protein. as the protein is not in the normal structure which is required by the homeostasis process within the tissue or the cell, this enzyme proteolysis is going to definitely act upon this particular protein. Oxidative damage to protein products may affect the activity of enzyme receptors and membrane transport. If that particular protein which is got reacted with the oxygenated radical, where this free radical is has already damaged the protein, but the protein is going to get incorporated with either the receptors, enzymes, hormones and the membrane transport mechanisms, then it is going to show the different activity of that particular component. Now coming to the next slide, this is also the same oxidative stress and proteins, where the oxidatively damaged protein products may contain very reactive groups that may contribute to damage to membrane and many cellular functions. So here you know that each component or the protein which is present in the biomembranes are specific to their activity, where they are going to send the signal, where these signals are going to act as the cascade to perform a particular function or the perform a particular phenomena within the cell or to induct a signal to the neighboring tissue cells. Now here, if these particular proteins are going to get oxidatively damaged, then they are going to show the different action compared to the normal action. Now when you are going to consider this different action can be very reactive, signals can be very much hazardous to that particular cell type and the tissue. Peroxyl radical is usually considered to be free radical species for the oxidation of proteins. So majorly observed free radical which is going to react with these particular proteins is the peroxyl radical. Reactive oxygen species can damage proteins and produce carbonyls and other amino acid modifications, including formation of methionine sulfoxide and protein peroxide. Now, protein oxidation affects the alteration of signal transduction mechanism, enzyme activity, heat stability, and proteolysis susceptibility, which leads to aging. Now here difference in the protein because of this particular oxidative damage is going to cause this many changes, specific changes, that is the transduction signal transduction mechanism is going to change, enzyme activity is going to change, heat stability of that particular protein or the enzyme or the hormone is going to change, and proteolysis susceptibility. Many proteins are going to be not susceptible to the proteolytic enzyme as because of their normal functionality. If the protein changes its normal functionality, then it is understood that the protein will be definitely get influenced by the acted by the proteolysis enzyme. So the proteolysis enzyme is going to break down this protein, which leads to aging in the here because of any of the improper functionality of the protein, either in the enzyme or in the signal transduction mechanism, or if the protein breakdowns by the proteolysis enzyme, then it is going to lead to the aging of that particular tissue. So here reactive oxygen species are especially known for their high reactivity towards sulfur containing amino acids and metal containing cofactor sites in proteins, causing reversible and irreversible action of many different proteins and representing a major threat towards the cellular proteome. Now here this particular explanation will be seen here. Here you can see methionine sulfone, methionine sulfoxide, So here these are the byproducts which has been formed after the action of the free radicals, that is the ROS free radicals. So these are the byproducts which has been seen, where these are irreversible modifications, protein unfolding and degradation will takes place. Now here these are the reversible modifications. In these reversible modifications, the redox homeostasis is nothing but that there are certain mechanisms within the genome where they are going to reverse the modifications which has happened due to the reactive oxygen species. That is the meaning of this. So here the these modifications can be reversed. So there can be achieved the homeostasis, that is the normalcy of the cell and the tissue. Hello guys, so in this slide we are going to discuss the oxidative stress and the DNA and RNA. Here we are going to discuss this particular diagram where we can see that there is the influence of the mitochondria and the PHA and the quinone metabolism and the NADPH oxidase influence and the particles, surface and solubles, which are going to have the influence on these particular internal organs, and the inflammation, macrophages and PMN activity, which is going to, all these are going to generate the free radicals, and also the metal ions which are going to readily combine within the metabolic process to generate the free radicals. You can see the hydroxyl ion, peroxynitrate, hydrogen peroxide and the superoxide. And here when you are going to consider, after the influence of these free radicals, the DNA is going to get into the damaged form. So here there can be the chances of the DNA repair under the oxidant defense. There can be chances of the DNA which will proliferate with the cells, that is the replication will takes place and the cell proliferation will takes place, and there can be the chances of the direct DNA damage identification and apoptosis or the cell death. Now here what will happen, DNA damage proliferation, if it is going to take place, then the further coming offspring cells are going to be the mutated form. The mutagenesis is going to be seen in those cells and there can be the high chances of the cancer. Now here if there is no DNA repair, that is if there is no DNA repair and if there is no apoptosis of the DNA damaged cell, then there will be the chances of the DNA replication and proliferation of those mutated DNA damaged cell, where they can lead to the cancer. Now here this is the one of the very brief diagram depicting the how there can be the chances of the cancer formation after the high level of the free radicals formation within the environment of the cell, where it can influence the DNA damage. Experiments also clearly provide evidence that DNA and RNA are susceptible to oxidative damage, and oxidizing radicals readily attack DNA if they are found in its vicinity, as has been clearly the case demonstrated by radiation biologists. We have already seen here in this particular diagram. Here we can see that the radiation, X-ray, gamma rays are going to reduce the water molecule and generates the superoxide or the peroxide, and they are going to influence the molecules present in the DNA. And there we have come across these two pathways where there can be the repair of the DNA after it's damaged by the free radicals, or it can be the direct cell death if there is no repair. If the damaged DNA bypasses the DNA repair and also the cell death or the apoptosis or the necrosis process, it is going to lead to the mutated cell form, that is the mutagenesis phenomena is going to take place. So here it is going to lead to the formation of the cancer. In the same manner, that is what the radiation biologists have suggested, that there is the chances of the DNA damage where the chances are very high. One major consequence of oxidative stress is oxidatively induced DNA damage, which include base modification. There can be the high chances of base modifications, abasic sites and strand breaks. Here base modification, base is the nitrogen base. It can be the deoxyribose any nucleotide, deoxyribose nucleic acid, any nucleotide, adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine or uracil. They are going to be influenced by this particular free radical. Free radicals are the elements which are going to react with the any of the element of the nitrogen base. So here, because of that, what will happen, there will be the base modification takes place, there will be the abasic site attachments or the modifications takes place, and strand breaks are going to take place. The strand breaks will be because of the phosphate backbone which is going to break down, where it can be the because of the influence of the free radical. Oxidative damage lesions can block essential process such as transcription and replication, or can induce mutations. Now here it is a very important point, where after the oxidative damage within the DNA, it can lead to the upstream the essential process taking place, that is the transcription and replication can slow down, where it can lead to the induced mutations. So it is a aberrant condition, where if there is no transcription or the replication is taking place within the cell, so it can lead to the aberrant condition. So it is the induced mutation by the oxidative stress or the oxidative free radicals. Oxidative damage to DNA is especially problematic since DNA cannot be resynthesized or turned over. So here, once there is the DNA damage, the DNA cannot be resynthesized unless it can be repaired. If that particular damage is unrepairable, then it is a problematic thing. Because of that, what will happen, the resynthesis of the DNA cannot be repaired, or it cannot be turned over. That is, we cannot turn over the primes, because if the DNA is not able to be repaired, then it cannot be turned over. Reactive oxygen species, which include reagents such as superoxide anions, hydrogen peroxide and hydroxyl radicals, can be produced from oxidative metabolism in mitochondria and other endogenous sources such as peroxisomes and inflammatory cells. This point you know very well, because discussed all earlier itself, that organelles of the cell will be responsible for this particular reactive oxygen species to be generated. Now, mechanism of oxidative stress induced genetic and epigenetic alterations. Here already we have said that the high level or high aggregation of the oxidative radicals can lead to the induced genetic and epigenetic alterations. That is, genetic alterations are within the genetic material. Epigenetic alterations are relating to or arising from non-genetic influences on gene expression. So here the epigenetic alterations are within the non-genetic expressions, which is caused by the oxidative free radicals. Further, here in this diagram you can see that a little what we have spoken now, that has been described, that is the ROS influences the DNA, and repair of the oxidative DNA damage will take place, and base accession repair will take place, replication restart mechanism will take place, and it activates the DNA damage response, facilitates base accession repair at site of lesions, and monitors replication for progression. So the genome is going to get stable, cellular adaptation and homeostasis takes place. Whereas if the genetic response to oxidative stress is going to takes place, the classical regulation, if it is going to takes place, then epigenetic regulation is also has to be taken place. So one damage will be like this, that is the genetic damage. This will be the epigenetic damage. Further activates redox regulated gene expression, remodels chromatin. Here in this there is no remodulation. Here there is only the repair. Here the chromatin remodels, maintains homeostatic regulation. As per the damage has caused, according to that the homeostatic regulation will be maintained. Further, both the forms can act genome stability, cellular adaptation and homeostasis as per the changes within them. You should not consider both are normal. Here it is different and here it is different. Here it is normal cell type with normal DNA. Here it is not so. Here remodeling of the chromatin has already taken place. So here the genome stability and the homeostasis and cellular adaptation is going to take place as per the remodeling has been taken place. Here it is normal as per what the earlier normal cells are present. Now here the next point is, it has been reported that especially in aging and cancer, DNA is considered as a major target. It is therefore a vulnerable and important target. Now here, with respect to the cancer and aging, it is considered to be as the vulnerable target. There seems little possibility that the DNA sequence damage may spread into chain reaction. It is nothing but as the reactive oxygen species act upon the DNA, the DNA repair mechanism will take place in the action, and it is going to lead to the highly correct DNA. It is going to remove all the whatever the oxidative stress or the oxidative reaction has been taken place in the elements of the DNA. So because of that, what will happen, there is the little possibility that the DNA sequence damage may spread into a chain reaction. A chain reaction is also nothing but here it can be the chance of a DNA base after getting into contact of the oxidative free radical, where this oxidative radical reaction has already given a free radical within the DNA base. That DNA base can generate a new free radical within the DNA. That is the chances which is spoken here. That is the chain reaction. So here this chain reaction will not take place because DNA is highly conserved due to its repair mechanism. So there is a very little possibility that the DNA sequence damage may spread into the chain reaction. Again, for DNA damage to occur, it must either be site specific or it must elude repair system. So a site specific in the sense that it should damage the DNA in such a site that the repair should not take place. So it should make a particular strand break at that particular point where DNA polymerase repair DNA should not take part in the repairing of this particular strand breaks, and it must elude the repair system. So either of this is not possible before replication occurs, leading to mutation. So every replication of the cell or duplication of the cell is followed after the DNA replication or duplication. So during the DNA replication or duplication, before to that there is the high chances of the DNA repair. So because of that, what will happen, the DNA is going to get corrected. So there is the little possibility that the DNA sequence damage may spread into a chain reaction. So further is oxidative nucleotides, or can be like glycol, DTG and 8-hydroxy 2-deoxyguanosine is found to be increased during oxidative damage to DNA under UV radiation or free radical damage. Now here, this is the external unusual form of the DNA damage, where there is the chances of the oxidative damage formation due to the UV radiation. Mitochondrial DNA are more susceptible to oxidative damage that have role in many diseases including cancer. So we have already spoken about this in the internal source of the DNA production, where there are the high chances of the mitochondrial DNA where oxidative damage, and it can lead to the disease like the cancer. 8-hydroxy-2-deoxyguanosine can be used as biological marker for oxidative stress on DNAs. The most widely used tools to measure oxidative DNA damage are the COMET assay, PCR-based assays, immunoassays, and mass spectrometry-based approaches. You know these experiments, so I hope that I no need to explain this because it is going to give a very long slide. So here, this one is the one of the biological marker which will be considered for the DNA damage. DNA damage where it will be because of the UV radiations. So here again I want to say that the UV radiations are causing the oxidative damage. Oxidative damage is one, you know, that all oxygen related radicals, reactive oxygen species, where this can be the internal source also. If it is induced, it can be the external unusual source also. So there can be both the sources where there can be the formation of this oxidative damage to the DNA. So here this is regarding the both the slides. This is regarding the both the slides explaining the oxidative stress on DNA and RNA. In these slides I have spoken only majorly about the DNA itself. The same thing holds good for RNA also, because all are the nitrogen bases and have the similar backbone structures and also the similar polymer kind of the structures. So here this is regarding the oxidative stress on DNA and RNA.